Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome back to the Shadow and Sun Show, and welcome to your Tuesday morning edition of Second Breakfast. How's everybody doing today? I'm in a good mood. I had a great evening last night. A lot of fun. Bubba's game was good. A couple of issues, but that's going to happen in larger parties. And I got to finish up the Red Room Blood and Dust book and reviewed that this morning. Well, last night, but you can see it just this morning. It's still the best West Wild West game out there. No matter how you slice it, it's got everything and more. Miguel, I got some more ideas along with what I just sent you. Um, I'm gonna hang out with Bloodworth tonight and see how his new game rolls out. I don't know if I'll be able to attend. I have some other things kind of going on, um, but other than that, life's full. Life's great. How about you guys out there in TV land? Anything new? Anything exciting you want to talk about? Any new games that you're playing or running or wanting to talk about? I got a couple more Red Room games that I saw on the old Amazon list that I definitely will be picking up in the future. I also got some time to read the first 30 or 40 pages of the Reaper Miniatures Dungeon Dwellers DM's Guide. I liked a lot of what I saw, but it's not perfect. There's some things I don't like about it, but I'll get into that when I finish reading it up and do the review on that. There's actually like the monster manual after that, a big old adventure guide, and then another adventure packet, if you will, or it's a book, but it comes with a map and some other stuff. And I can see that game taking off. Not in my group, but I could see it being a contender for like an NE or something like that the next time those roll around. I'm supposed to be getting the Outgunned superhero game in the mail soon. I still haven't read the very first one, and I backed the pirate one. I don't know why. Completionist in me, and those games look like a lot of fun, but just absolutely impossible to play online. So we'll see about that. I know RPG Elite really likes that game, but he also plays pretty much exclusively in person. And I got something else big coming besides the uh, Bronze Age miniatures, Wasteland Warrior miniatures coming in the mail. Maybe today. I thought they were going to be here yesterday, but no such luck. And I got notification that by the end of August, I will have the Port Haven Kickstarter from Archon Studios. That's going to be a whole lot of stuff. So I really need to clear some stuff off my desk, which means I'm probably going to have to find a way to get some more miniature cases for these things. There's so many unpainted miniatures on my desk, and I have not just the Wasteland Mutants coming in, but I've got about 20 Reaper minis, a lot of which I will be saving for September and the big, Halloween Vampire Wars thing I'm working on. But a lot of them I will be unable to resist and put on the table. I'm surprised I didn't jump right on painting Sherlock Holmes and Watson. I did paint Tarzan because that didn't quite count. I couldn't really see throwing Tarzan in a vampire game. Could you guys? I think that would be kind of weird. But in addition to the cultists, I need a good line of witch miniatures. Some sort of female cultist, a coven, if you will, as an adversary for not just the Vampire Wars games I'm going to be working on, but I was thinking about the Red Room's Blood and Dust and a, a a little sleepy western town that's run by witches. I think would be a very challenging scenario because of the morals and the culture of the old west. A preacher man and a posse, or a group of lawmen, that sort of thing. I don't know how they would deal with that. You can't just like shoot them up, right? You gotta handcuff them and bring them to justice and then hang them, I guess, for witchcraft. But you got to kind of prove that to the townsfolk. And if the townsfolk is made up of more witches, what's up, squirrel? And would silver or regular bullets even do it? I don't know. What do you guys think? How would you do that? Would you do that? I think it would make for a great story in the end if you could pull it off just right. Maybe they have like a woman or two that's handy with a shooting iron or something like that, and maybe they'd be justified in shooting them in a fair fight. But the witches, when they could maybe charm the men folk and get them to do their bidding and you know sacrifice you know lone travelers as they come into town. Maybe the posse is chasing a bad guy, but they find him. He's already been you know done up by the witches, and all they find is a guy with a dagger through his chest or something like that, or um, I don't know. Just things I've been thinking about recently. What's on your mind, Squirrel? What you up to? How's that a rock? You guys enjoying the summer? It feels like it's almost over, don't it? I know it just kind of just started. We still have August and September to go through, but it feels like the summer's already winding down. I said before, our Hobby Lobby has already got Thanksgiving and Christmas decorations going up. Like, I love Hobby Lobby. I really do. They're probably my favorite go to store in my neck of the woods. But that kind of bugs me. Isn't it a bit soon? August, September, October, November, 4 or 5 months early. All that stuff's going to be sold out and off the shelves in like 2 months because they're making way for what, Valentine's Day or something. Um, yeah, yeah. Glad to hear it. Glad to hear it. Hope both of you guys are doing well. And I've noticed, Squirrel, you've been around a lot more. Is this a slow time of the year, or uh, are you just getting shorter jobs? How's that going? I mean, I totally dig it. I look forward to the day when you get to retire and you're doing your own show and you're doing shows like this, and then I got to come over to your show, which will probably be like a lot earlier, which means I'll have to get up earlier. I uh, I also saw some really cool terrain pieces. I'm going to probably pick up just to have a little bit more to set up for those Vampire War games, as well as some D&D games. The pieces are mostly dungeon entrances or tomb entrances, but they're about yay big for like $9, and most of them look pretty good. A couple of them are multi-part. Oh, you're taking some time off? Okay, it's summer, might as well, right? And what the heck is all that? What the? Did I forget to put this? This hides something that. Oh, this is all mushrooms and other. Oh, dear Lord. Oh, my goodness. I gotta put this in that other thing. I hate when I don't put all of a thing away and I gotta go find the containers to put that stuff in. But I was thinking about the Port Haven Kickstarter, and I don't know what I'm going to do with it. There's so much in it that I'm just not going to be using anytime soon. I might just stow that on the shelf as well. I mean, I really would love to be able to pull that a big giant pirate ship out and put it together and show it off. But I know I'm just going to have to then find a completely different thing to put it away in, if that makes any sense. It's not going to be like the Falling Star from WizKids, where it comes in a big giant box, it goes back into the big giant box, it goes into another box for protection. And since I'm pretty sure it's like a modular kit, so you could maybe make it smaller. But either way, it's if that's the case, it's going to be on sprues, and it's actually going to be more compact and easier to store in its original boxes, and that's a shame. It and the ghost ship. I would really love to be able to set up the dining table with a full port with a couple of ships. You know, your paint the pre-painted sailing ship, doing battle with the ghost ship, or maybe even the falling star, something like that. But I know it's not going to happen, except for to maybe just show the stuff off, and that's 6 8 hours of work for a 20-minute video. So it might be a while before I show that off. There will probably be some big monsters that I won't be able to resist painting. And that's like one of my weaknesses. Most of the minis that are in my studio right here right now are about yay big, all of them, and there's really no system of miniature storage devices for things that are that big. Who just popped in? Ba, 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 ba. Mr. Bloodworth, how are you doing, sir?
Hey, how's it going?
Chilling, just talking about some of the stuff that I got coming in and not knowing what the hell to do with it. I think I have a problem.
I'm just on my lunch break. I couldn't log in through my iPad is not picking up my hotspot, so
Hmm.
I had to use the phone.
It seems to be working. So I'm glad
Yeah,
you're
the
back
phone's
from
working.
vacation. A little jealous. I've always wanted to go to the Bahamas. I was always a beach kid growing up, and I'd have come back bright red,
Mm.
and probably would have lost half my hair too. So, but it's for me. It's been like 15 years since I've seen the ocean, and I used to live just down the street. So living
Yeah,
in the high desert is a big, drastic change from all that. Did you go in the water? Or you just walk
yeah,
along the street?
but it's more in the cove than on the ocean. So we don't have those huge waves or anything.
Yeah,
Um,
you don't hear anybody surfing the Bahamas. I mean,
no, you could surf the Bahamas, that's for darn sure. But the resorts are not access right to the ocean. They're inside coves and stuff like that,
okay.
which is good.
We, uh, we were able to take our surfboards on the bus back in the day,
Hmm.
and we did, and it was it'd be like a half hour ride to the beach, but worth every minute of it. I do miss it, but at my age, I would go to the beach and have skin cancer the next day, and I've avoided that so far as I know. So probably want to keep it that way.
Yeah. So tonight you're gonna join?
I'm gonna stick around. I'll be there. I haven't rolled up a character or anything like that. I want to see the makeup of the party, and even Mirador emailed me
Well,
last night, which I never hear from him.
mm,
I mean, he's the only guy I do hear from besides you from that group, which was nice. And I want to see what the makeup of the group is and the
we're
dynamics.
short a fighter. We're
No,
short a fighter ranger. Um, we're just down to five.
really,
Yeah,
you're at 9,
I know. Well, the arcane thief. Well, we're never quite at nine. We were
8.
we're at eight, and then We lost. The husband and wife team couldn't make it. They were like, now, looking over our schedule, we just can't work it out.
Okay.
And then the guy playing the Arcane Thief dropped out.
Was that Timmy?
Um, yeah,
Timmy dropped out. You're kidding.
yeah. No, he says, you know what? Looking it over, I just can't work this into my schedule.
Oh, really?
So, so we lost the Arcane Thief, which I'm really like looking forward
Mm-hmm.
to seeing how that class works. Would have been pretty interesting.
You might have piqued my interest. You know me. I like running thieves and assassins and rangers um, in those kind of games. So I'll have to take a look.
Yeah. Uh, Arcane Thief is pretty cool. I emailed, like, I just sent him a message. I was like, hey, there's a really cool image for an Arcane Thief, gnome Arcane Thief. Really looks cool. And he was like,
Mhm.
you know what? He says, I'm sorry to let you know, but I don't think I can make it. So I was like, well, I said, sorry to hear that. I said, I wish I had a little bit more notice, instead of the night before. Um,
At our age and everything, it's so common for even like last night in Bubba's game, Timmy was there,
mm,
and like one or two people couldn't make it, and one guy hasn't made it yet.
yeah.
Yeah, and I know what that's like as a GM. Like, he's a friend of yours, and you give him every freaking opportunity, but 3, 5, 7
Mm.
sessions roll along and they haven't shown up. You just got to write them off for that particular game.
Yeah.
And
Hey, if you want to roll an Arcane Thief,
well, do they have regular thieving abilities?
no, they steal magic.
Okay, they just steal
They,
magic.
they literally steal magic.
Okay,
They're
what are their fighting abilities like?
um. Let me bring it up. Um,
Is it like akin to a thief, akin to a cleric? If it's magic userly, that sucks because
no, what they do is they will steal magic power,
mhm,
and they can turn it against turn it against them.
sure,
They literally snatch the they can snatch the spell like abilities from creatures,
right.
like, so they can steal the gaze of a Medusa and turn it back on her. You know what I'm
That's
saying? Or
pretty
turn it
jacked
back
up.
on something else. Yeah.
Right. I'm just thinking, for when there is no magic to be stolen, what do they do?
They can store magic spells for a length of time.
Hmm.
So let me bring it up. They put too much stuff on these
Thanks, squirrel.
fries. So it's in the adventurer's backpack. So I'm grabbing it, and let's see. Do 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 do. So let's see. Arcane Thief. So Arcane Thief for number one, they have a D8 for hit die.
Okay.
So you don't have to worry about, I'm a thief, I only have D6, or I only have D4 for a magic user.
Well, I mean, I made my
So,
assassin work. You just got to play them smart.
so spell casting, the ability to cast arcane spells or spell like abilities. Um, they can identify magic items, without spell. So it's an innate ability.
Hmm.
They can steal essence. So touch attack for and this is at first level. Touch attack for D8 and heals half the amount, so they can self heal themselves. Um,
That's real tempting, man. Wow,
Stealing
that's a lot of.
spells, they can steal spell and use it or keep it. Steal spell like ability, steals a spell like ability and using or keeping it as the spell, and they can they can retain a spell, making one spell permanent. So that you can identify like a spell that you want to make it a permanent spell that you always have. Now let's
Mhm.
see. Arcane thieves can cast spells either from their grimoire, so you do have to carry a book,
Mhm.
or directly from their mind if they've just captured a spell. When they cast spells, they can cast them using their own caster level rather than the level of the original caster. The caster level or the CL for saves are determined by the Arcane Thieves caster level. A spell or spell like ability can remain uncast in an Arcane Thieves grimoire indefinitely, only vanishes once cast. So, spells and spell like abilities that an Arcane Thief steals and casts from their grimoire are cast by the Thieves level. All right. Um,
Mhm.
At sixth level, Arcane Thieves have successfully acquired Fireball and copied it to their grimoire, casts a Fireball as a sixth level spellcaster, and deals 66. That's just an example.
Mhm.
They don't innately get it. So a grimoire can only hold up to 39 spell levels. Zero spell levels count as first.
Mhm.
Um, let's see. So let's see, they're starting. So they have an innate ability of identify
Mhm.
magic items, which is pretty cool.
Mhm.
Um,
Always useful.
yeah. So let's
What's
see
their
their.
What's their hand to hand combat progression?
Well, like I said, they're. Oh, they gain a +1 BTH at level 2, and then it's every 2 levels beyond 2. So 2 and 3 is a +1, 4 and 5 is +2, 6 and 7 is +3.
So
I think
that's
go
like
up.
right up. That's like cleric then, right?
I guess so. Doesn't he know I'm on lunch? Um,
Because I remember the assassin was like,
Hold on, let me grab this.
sure.
Yes, Em. All right, yeah, I'm on lunch, so yeah. All right, bye bye.
I'm
Yeah, my
pretty
one
sure
o'clock appointment's already here. I'm like,
I'm pretty sure the assassin was like every four,
oh,
and I was having like a hell of a time, making hits count even with the +4 from behind.
yeah, but that was a different game system.
What do you mean? That was. Oh, you're
That
right. You're
wasn't
right.
Castles and Crusades.
You're right. You're right. You're right. What was the character I
Yeah,
played before that? Was
you're
just a
playing
straight.
in Dragon Slayer.
Yeah, but before Dragon Slayer, what was I playing? I forget. Was it a thief?
I don't think you ever played Thief with me. You weren't a thief, were you?
I could have
In
swore I was.
AT&D first?
No, no, no. In one of the Castles and Crusades before, after D&D, I know I played like a barbarian for like 2 games, a fighter. Um,
You didn't play a fighter with me. Remember, you just said that recently. You never played a fighter with me.
no, no, I did. Remember the guy whose bastard sword kept breaking?
Oh, that's right. That's right. Um,
Which to this day is still a joke over at OGGM's games. Anytime something like that happens, he rubs it in. Um,
um, Let me see.
I could
Assassin.
have swore I ran an elven thief. Maybe he was a fighter. I don't think so though.
I don't remember.
Yeah, I mean, I've run a bunch of characters with your group over the years, like a bunch. I mean,
In
some were
AT&D, well, yeah,
that was a magic user, that was Zane, and then I played
yes,
Rodan the
Zane, I
Barbarian.
remember. Yeah. So
Uh,
assassin, yeah, assassin in this keeps +1 for 3 levels.
okay, that's better than four,
Yeah,
which makes no sense if you think about it. I get the thief. Okay, that's fine. They're not really,
assassin's
you know,
level faster. That's all.
right. Uh, but I like what I'm hearing. Can you send me some link or some such so I can read over it myself?
We have the
Uh,
player's handbook, don't you? You have the.
I have the old player's handbook that you sent me
Yeah.
way
So
back.
you don't have the Adventurers backpack?
No, no,
Okay. Let me see how to send this to you. Um,
because they sound. I'm gonna be brutally honest here. They sound a little broken.
what the Arcane
Arcane
Thief?
Thief. Yeah, just a little. And I'm okay with that. I'm totally okay with that. Um, I take
No.
a gem, cast Resurrection, continue Magic Mouth on it, and a couple other spells. Once the Soul Gem was made, our DM made. Okay, that's clearly a
Uh,
high game, and I'm all for that. Quasimodo,
oh, you know what? I won't be able to.
send it.
Yeah, look on Discord
Uh huh.
because I can't bring up Discord on this.
Okay, yeah, I can't either right now. It'll kick me out.
Yeah, I can't bring up Discord on my work computer anyway. I can only
Oh,
do it from home. So I'll get home around 5:30.
okay.
But
Hey,
look
it'll take
under
me.
look under Discord,
Mm-hmm.
and I'm pretty sure on Discord I have
The link. The link.
um yeah, the link is going to be in the Castles and Crusades, one of the Castles and Crusades resource tabs. Yeah, for some reason on my iPad, I couldn't hook my iPad up to the hotspot. I don't know why. Because I'm using it on the phone. I should be able to. Not that the phone is hooked up to the hotspot, but so let's see.
That's pretty OP, Quasi. And you know how I feel about Resurrects. They're never gonna happen.
Oh, maybe I'm hooked up now.
I know.
All right, so I'm hooked up to the hotspot now on the
What's
thing.
up,
So
Death Angel?
let me go to Castles and Crusades. I will be able to send it to you now. Hold on.
Okay.
Um,
Well, I still can't look at it while I'm here
Adventures
because
Backpack Reforged. No, but at least I'll be able to send it to you. So I am going to um what is going on here? Anyone with the link? All right. Now I will go to Discord and oh, let's see.
it sounds very powerful, Quasi. Very powerful.
Yeah. All right. Let me find you here. Let me post it here. There, I just sent you the link and I just heard it ping on your thing.
Yeah.
Yeah. So now you have the adventure backpack and check it
Okay.
out.
Absolutely.
And and I already have a character sheet open for you on roll
Oh,
20.
check you out. Alrighty, cool. Yeah, it sounds. I'm guessing armor restrictions or magic user or thief like.
Not as much as you might think. Let me see. They certainly
Okay.
have more weapons. I'm bringing it up again.
Okay.
So, oh, come on, no thanks. Oh, I could have done that on my computer here. Let me do it on my computer here. Um,
Sure.
Adventurer's Backpack, Arcane Thief. Let me see. Hey, Susie, what's up? Yeah, you can come to me. All right. Yep. Oh, I got to go take care of this person. I'll talk to you
Cool.
later.
No worries. No worries. It looks like he's still there. I'm gonna bop him out. Yeah. Okay, folks. Since the DM's not here, you tell me. Does that sound like a little OP? Is it me? Uh, D8 hit die, cast magic user spells, wear better than leather armor. I'm guessing. Um, this is slurping up spells left and right where you can, hanging on to them. I mean, unless the weapon restrictions are really, really, really like staff, dagger, that sort of nonsense. Um, I think I'm going to be a nuisance. I think, yeah. I don't know. We'll see what happens. I do have a thing that's pending, and we'll see. CNC isn't my go-to game, but you know, to be honest, what I hate about CNC the most is the fighters. They get like nothing. I mean, just like maybe there's ways to enjoy that class with the secondary skills and those things. Maybe you could jazz them up a bit, but it's like the only thing that changes for them is numerically. There's no they don't learn anything new. It's just they're just the ultimate meathead in my opinion. Even the barbarian was a little more fun. We used permanency for everything. I had 360 degree vision, no assassin can backstab my character. That's cool. But uh, there's always a way. You know what I mean? If a DM's trying to kill you, he'll kill you. He'll just drop a freaking a house on you. Um, I'm you know me, a huge fan of the upper levels. My sweet spot is everything above 10th level, um, because it's just most GMs can't handle it. Most games never get there, and all the really fun stuff starts showing up there. That's where the players can really make a mark on the world. You know, good or bad or indifferent. I mean, not indifferent, obviously. They can make a permanent residence. They can start building kingdoms. They can start building magic items that may outlive them. Artifacts, that sort of thing. Things like you're talking about. Um, and for the most part, I think what it is that most DMs spend so much time at the lower levels, running the lower levels, that becomes super easy for them, or like almost like rote memory. They can just do it blindfolded, you know. But as things get more challenging, they've literally not got a lot of experience doing it. Most GMs, their sweet spot is like 4 to 7, and I'm like, that's like that should be in the rear view mirror, like looking back on it, like, oh, how young we were and foolish and impetuous, etc. Especially everybody I play with is like 40 and up. Okay, playing teenagers and 30-year-olds seems kind of like you know trying to relive your glory days. And I don't know about you guys, but I had some great times after 30, after 40, in my 50s. The things that I can get done now far exceed what I could in my teens and 20s and 30s. Um, and I struggled and had my own trials and tribulations like everybody else, but I would not want to go back to any of that. Uh, you know, Maybe physically, a few aches and pains would go away. But, you know, situationally, financially, mentally, not so much. You know, and I see things uh, on the internet and ways to get healthier and really get you know into really good shape and things like that. So I know all that stuff is still possible for a while. You can still do what you used to do within reason, you know. Um, so you know, all that you gain are, you know, fewer wrinkles and aches and pains and things like that. And I don't know, man. I just it seems sometimes weird to always be playing these young bucks that, you know, don't know shit and can't get anything done, and, you know, swing and miss, you know, 9 times out of 10. That's like I was in Bloodworth's game when I was running an assassin. At I finished my character. The game ended. I was like seventh level. That's interesting. Um, at seventh, by the time I was seventh level, um, I had missed over 50% of my attacks. Um, no, I missed over 75% of my attacks. Rolling to hit, whether it was backstab, shooting a bow, you know, one-on-one straight fights. You know, I'd miss 1 in 4. And like the last game I was in, I think I rolled 2 or 3 crits, which brought my crits up to a total of 8 throughout the campaign. I didn't keep track of the fumbles because that would have just been really demoralizing because it was way into the double digits. I should teach a clinic on how to make D&D characters overpowering. Um, I would not do that. I'll tell you why. Because then your DMs might learn from it. Your competing players would learn from that. And there's already, you know, third, fourth, and fifth edition that already do that. I was watching Joe the lawyer's video, you know, how he was complaining about like cantrips. You could just, you know, blast those off, and uh, I think that's the case for dungeon dwellers as well. You can literally like cast the magic missile ish kind of cantrip like every round. Back in my day, you got one magic missile a day at first level, and if that was your spell, you hung onto it until the party just couldn't hit something, and then you like, ting, you know, you fire that off, and that'll, you know, maybe start the ball rolling where you can start chipping away at that, you know, second or third level critter. Um, you know, or you had the sleep spell, and, you know, that would work on a bunch of critters, you know. But now it's like what I've seen in third, fourth, fifth dungeon dwellers and a lot of other games is characters start out a lot more powerful. All you need to do is just play a different game if you want more powerful characters, and you know, obviously that's relative to everything else in the campaign. But you know, that was like why my group wanted to go to Palladium. Um, it seemed to them and me as well that, you know, right off the bat, the hand-to-hand table, you start with 2 attacks in a shorter melee round, which meant, oh, suddenly I'm like faster, able to hit more, and blah blah blah. Not really. It was, you know, the one chance or 2 chances you got in a minute. It assumed that you were swinging and missing and parrying and blocking during that minute. You weren't just standing static and you get one chance. Okay, but it turns out that, yeah, you get more magic points and you can cast more spells, etc. And some of those spells were really good. Mage armor or whatever that was, first level spell that gives you like 10 hit points. Oh my god, your magic user is just like, you know, ooh, like it just like went up like 3 to 4 levels in hit points. But it turned out that everything was wearing armor. Armor had hit points. Armor had a damage reduction, etc. So no, you weren't really all that more powerful. You were swinging more, and you're getting to roll more dice, but things were taking far more hit points and damage before they would go down. Then when it came to the actual magic, you low end, yeah, you could do more. You could, you know, maybe feel stronger in that way. But then when it got up to like teleport, oh well, it was limited to like 100 miles. Well, gosh, to teleport in AD&D, I could teleport to the other side of the freaking planet. I just had to make a roll, and if I knew the place, I'd been there before. piece of cake, right? Hell, you could even teleport to places you looked at through a crystal ball or something like that. Then when it came to like making magic items, you could make like scrolls and things with charges. That's it. You couldn't make a permanent magic item. You couldn't make a +1 sword. You couldn't do 90% of what you're talking about, Quasi. You literally couldn't do it. So it was kind of an illusion, or it was more powerful front ended. But if you ever made it to past fifth, seventh, ninth level, you're like, yeah, I can't do all this cool shit that I used to be able to do in other games. So it's really you got to go through it with a fine tooth comb to find out how things are different, how things are better, and if those things are a worthy trade off. If you want to survive in the early games easier, cool. Okay, some of these games would be better, but in the long run, I noticed that Dragon Slayer and Castles and Crusades and uh, uh, there was another game I wanted to say, but you literally didn't have the enchant item spell. You literally didn't have the wish spell. You didn't have the permanency spell. You didn't have half of the really big meta spells. I don't even think you had Wall of Stone or Wall of Force, and those are only fifth level spells. Monster summoning one? No, you're not doing that. Don't get me started on the lack of treasure. The AD&D treasure table is by far the most generous treasure table in any game other than Arduin. Right. Wand of Magic Missile is retarded. Are you aware of that? A Wand of Magic Missile casts one missile per charge per round. To me, that's pointless. Uh, at third level, I'm more powerful than a Wand of Magic Missiles. What kind of wizard puts that kind of restriction on a Wand of Magic Missiles? Uh, I mean, sure, you never miss and you do a D4 plus one. That's not bad. Okay. But there's no option to turn it into the machine gun that the wizard could do. By the time he can cast enchant item, he's what, 11th level, which means 1, 3, 5, 7, 9, 11. He can cast 6 magic missiles around with the spell for one segment versus one. If I got one of those, I would just fucking sell it, and go find, use that money for just about anything else. No one in the right mind played. Rules is written AD&D. Single class, first to third level magic user with no magic items in lethal combat. Well, you don't really have that choice, do you? If the GM's a skin flint and you don't find any magic items that magic users can use, then you don't really have that choice. A ring or a cloak of protection bring down to AC4. That's up to the GM, though, isn't it? I that's why I never handed those out. I'd rather hand them a wand of fire or a wand of frost or fireballs, or lightning bolts. A wand of fire and frost could do like 3 or 4 different fire spells. That's freaking badass. Sure, you're gonna burn through those charges pretty quick, but you can do stuff. It makes you feel magical. Um, and you don't really have the choice. And when you're looking at magic items as a DM, you're going to get one per like every 4 groups of decent, not wimpy skeleton giant rat monsters. Uh, you know, you might find one, excuse me, 1, 2, or 3 magic items by second or third level if your encounters are anything to write home about. And out of those, there's a really good chance one's going to be a potion, one's going to be a scroll, and one's going to be a miscellaneous magic item, not a, or maybe a sword, armor, or shield, kind of thing, weapon. So chances are the magic user isn't going to find any cool magic user magic items as often as they're going to find weapons and armor. That's just those are just the percentages. Sure, some of the protection devices are in the miscellaneous magic items, and those help give the magic user a fighting chance. But there's a lot of times where people will be like, "Well, no, uh, I'm taking that," especially if you do any sort of party pick, you know. Some players in some groups go, "This goes to the so and so because they need it more." Okay, that's cool. That's communism. Um, if you do it any sort of uh, or socialism, if you do it in any kind of way where it's by merit, or a lot of times we did the random, everybody rolls a die, the highest roller goes and picks the item first, and you would have a-holes picking the magic user items just to sell them for the XP and the gold. um, those players were quickly dropped from the group, but or explain to that you just screwed us because we're never going to find one of those again. And Chuck over here, the magic user, could have saved our bacon and more times than we can count with that item, but you're being a dick about it. But those were one of the suggested methods of dividing up treasure. Uh, if you do it, in a more pragmatic way, the magic user gets the bracers of armor class and the wands and things like that, and the fighters get the armor and the weapons. Miscellaneous magic items are kind of like a use as needed kind of thing. Yeah, you might be holding on to the boat of folding, but everybody's getting in it when the water starts rising, kind of thing. Um, I don't know. That's just how we played back in the day. We had you know, many players come and go under my DM screen, and they all come with their own conceptions and misconceptions of how treasure should be dealt with. And then of course there's the invariable thief that tries to swipe from the party, uh, which those were usually strung up and ejected from the game, physically and metaphorically, if you know what I mean. Do you guys ever have that problem? Do you guys ever run into players running thieves that steal from the party? I i can honestly say I've never done that. I mean, everybody's right there listening. You know what I mean? And if you're passing notes back and forth after you've gone up ahead, it's like, oh, when he comes back, we're going to grab his ass and search him. Oh, we found a dagger they didn't have before or a bag of gems. Well, we're killing him. It's just that simple. I mean, because I get it. You're a thief, but the GM should allow for opportunities for you to go off and do your thieving shit that's not taking away from the party. Because if the dungeon master sets up a dungeon and he puts, in room, 12, there's this, but the thief manages to make his way to room 12 without the party, um, he's just taking a bunch of XP, and they already go up faster than anybody else. So, so what? You want to be 3 levels above everybody else? You understand that sways the curve, right? So instead of the party on average being like fourth level, they're now fifth, and suddenly we're running into whites and things like that where we wouldn't do that for another 2 levels because of your dumbass, and the cleric can't possibly turn them. And if one of us loses 2 levels, we might end up being a white, right? You don't really need that. Do you guys do that as well? Add up the party levels, divide by party number of characters to get the average level to what monsters you look at on the monster charts for dungeons. Do you ever do that, or do you just say F it and just roll randomly off some other charts? When it comes to the dungeons, I absolutely do that, but I will go one level above. Like halfway. Like say they're on the fourth level of a dungeon, right? When they get to the area that's closer to the stairs down, they might run into a fifth level or so monster, maybe even a sixth, depending on what it is. By the chart. Or in some of the later books where they had, uh, The experience point value, and it would give you like a Roman number 1 through 10 to also give you an idea, kind of like a challenge rating, which isn't an awful idea, but at the same time, you should go above and below whatever that number is. That's awesome, Mike. Good to see you. Like I said earlier, I will be announcing who the winner is in a short little video later, just to let that person know they won a very cool prize. And then I'll try to get that out this weekend. Um, yeah, I think depending on when you came into the game would kind of determine just how uh, effed up the thief player might be, when it came to, inter-party conflict and stealing from the party. Um, it just, it takes away from everybody, just like, regular stealing does. Especially in my neck of the woods where, like, some of the dumbest crap is behind lock and key now. Deodorant, people stealing deodorant. So it's all behind a plexiglass door that some schmuck has got to come up with the key or the digital thing to open it up and then just hand it to you. Like you couldn't just, get someone to hand it to you and then you just walk out with it because they're not going to stop you. You know what I mean? It's like, well, why'd you do that? Both why'd you steal it or correct it? uh, I can't picture beating the crap out of a player and then also inviting them back to the next game. You know, um, those are like one and done. You do it, you're out. You get caught, you're out. Hell, if I was a DM and the player wanted to do that, I'd be like, "This ain't the game for you, man." If you're even thinking like that, um, you're just. I mean, everybody can see what you're doing. They're at the same freaking table, or they're if you're playing online, I suppose you could get away with it. Be like, yeah, I don't want you in my game. I just don't. At some point, you're going to take something uh, that the party needs, and I'm going to have to explain. Well, you guys weren't paying attention. What do you mean? We got to watch this guy? You let this guy into the group? I mean, you were watching him swipe stuff from us left and right, not saying anything, or maybe, uh, you know, giving us hints, clues, letting us, roll to see if we notice. Yeah, it's just bad form and just I don't know, broken people. I do play a lot of thieves, and I don't do it for the ability to get one over on my fellow players. I do it for the challenge of not having the big giant muscles to be the fighter or the big brain to cast the spells. I do it for the challenge of trying to think my way around traps and tricks and locks. I've always been a big fan of that skill and the idea that I can, figure a room out and size it up and you know find the secret doors through method, not just a random die roll. Find the secret hidden caches by looking in the right places, figuring a way around a trap once it's been sprung or discovered. Essentially, there's two kinds of games I fluctuate going in and out of. One, the ultra funny, hard ass GM, and two, the prankster GM who makes every scenario out to be a ridiculous joke. And I learned to appreciate both styles. That's fair. Yes, we are talking about thief characters, Stephen. A burglar, perhaps. Yeah, I will absolutely take time out of everybody's busy schedule if the thief player, um, while not in a dungeon, like say they're in a town and I say, hey, you notice, Lady so and so's got a really fancy necklace, and that would fetch a pretty handy, pretty tidy profit over at your local fence over there, who would just melt it down, take the gems out, and scurry those away, you know, maybe recut them, etc. Uh, Maybe even have your fellow party members help, be distractions and lookouts and things like that, and get them involved. The profiling hobbits, nice, Mike, nice. You know, provided most of the characters aren't of a good alignment, or maybe there's a couple. Maybe there's a greedy dwarf and a chaotic neutral gnome, because aren't they all? And you got a hobbit and maybe a half orc, or some folks in the group that maybe when they're not on the road to the next dungeon, they get into a little mischief here and there. Then they split up the profits with fewer characters. And I do agree that there should be a thief burning fellow player characters who gets away with that shit. There's, there shouldn't be a thief burning fellow player characters who get away with that. Yeah. Um, what's the point? Uh, other than to get away with something under the noses of the fellow players. Well, maybe next time when the player's got to decide whether to heal the fighter or the thief, he's going to go with the fighter or the magic user or himself. You know, just saying. Maybe the fighter is going to move over there and protect the magic user, leave you wide open. I've seen it happen. You know, uh, so just don't do that, and then you won't have any problems. If you're the thief that's always got your buddy's back in the right way, yeah, that's what NPCs are for. Uh, Good to see you, Omen. There's just it's just you're just asking for it. You know what I mean. You're literally like begging, "Hey, kick me out of the game because I'm a dick." Uh, yeah, we in the old days I had seen at the Unicorn's Lair more than one player get kicked out of the building, and then messed up a little in the parking lot. Hell, maybe they might not even get to go home with their books. Maybe they got tossed out the building and their backpack got rummaged through and nobody knew what happened to that. Maybe they find the backpack in the trash can, but all those dice and books and stuff. Now you know what it feels like, don't you? What's up, Vic? How you doing? Just talking about thieves and stuff for D&D, and how do you handle jerks who are ripping off the party. I mean, because the DM puts that stuff in there for you guys. They put each and every room, unless they randomly roll it up, but they're still putting it in there because they can just go, well, the room's empty, you didn't find shit. But if they're starting, they're saying, this is in this room and this is in this box and this is in this coffer, that's for you guys. You can earn it the right way by killing everything in the vicinity and taking it and divvying it up fairly and squarely. Um, you know, there's a good chance that the GM's going to be like, well, yeah, I Magic User Thief is my favorite, and Bloodworth just offered me the Arcane Thief for C&C. Sure, Vic. Offered me the Arcane Thief to play in his Tuesday night game, which is when I heard about it, I'm like, yeah, I want to play that. But then Timmy grabbed it before me because I didn't know, and then Timmy bowed out, and I'm like, yeah, yeah, I'm still interested. Uh, the problem, though, moment, I despise gnomes. Uh, they're more of a comic relief character than the Hobbit ever was. What's up, Chris? My name is Benny. You can trust me. Now let's get into the mummy's tomb. Ah, dude, I I so ran that guy as an NPC on numerous occasions, and And even I'm going to say it, even before the Mummy came out, I had run NPCs just like that. Maybe not with the holy symbols, but I did do the thing. Hey, Vic,
Yes.
I got a hard, fucked up question for you, man.
Oh God, here we go.
You said you do not give XP for what? Gold?
Gold.
So did you reduce all the experience point tables by a third?
No.
So you just made it harder for them just for the sake of
Yeah.
making it harder?
Yeah.
Okay.
That's it. That's all. But I do give experience points for, how do I want to say this? Spectacular feats.
Yeah, everybody does that. That's
Huh?
nothing. You're not doing anybody a favor doing that. You're making it harder for the sake of making it harder. Um, Not a fan, dude. Not a fan.
Well, you know what? Everybody's got their system. You know what I mean?
Mhm.
And
Mhm.
that's just all it is. You've got your system. I've got
Mhm.
mine. As long as your players agree to it, what the heck?
Yep.
You know what I'm
Well,
saying?
I mean, if it's the only game in town, what are you going to do? Um, but
Well,
yeah,
my 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 players.
I would honestly, in before I would ever do that, I would just give out less treasure. You know, because like I was playing um, Savage Swords by the Red Room, and it's a game where you don't get XP for any of that. You don't get it for money. You don't get it for kills. You don't
Mm,
get it for magic items or any kind of treasure. You get it for what you do. You know, but you're
right.
only getting like 1, 2, 3 points, maybe five in a really big session. You know,
Mm,
and even then, uh, you don't you don't go up levels. You buy skills or you buy stat points, and for the most part, you're saving up forever to get those. What's up, Coochie? Does Vic use the two second edition XP tables?
no, I use first edition.
Okay.
I'm an AD&D original. I don't
Yeah,
use second edition shit.
same here. Yeah, 2E. Oh, dude, I freaking hate I hate the 2E treasure table with a freaking
Nope.
un.
Occasionally, though, I will pull out
Me too, Bowman. That's good,
like the
but it's.
Encyclopedia Magica or something like that and roll on one of those tables just for fun. Yep, just for fun. I'll pull
I
out one
love
of
those
those.
books. Those books are great, and I mean, it could have been 1E. It's filled with 1E stuff, you know. So,
Yeah, but there's
but
magical items in there that don't appear. I mean, it's
oh yeah,
always
yeah, 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 yeah.
in the Arc Unearthed Arcana and DM's guide. It's always the
It's the
same stuff
same thing.
over and over again.
It's literally
Why
the
not
same thing.
throw something unique in there? You know what I'm saying?
Here's the thing. Here's the thing, and I'll leave it alone after that. In AD&D, you get XP for gold, monster kills, magic items, uh, and anything else the GM wants to give you XP for.
Right.
The XP tables are designed on that formula, knowing that without getting the XP for all those things, and you can take out the fourth category if you want, but without those three, then the XP tables, are insanely hard to, advance through. When you're needing 200, when you need when you need literally as many XP as the previous, you know what I mean? Like your ninth level, you need to get to 10th level, you need the same amount of XP as it got to get you to ninth level. Um, and you've been playing for years, you can literally go, well, we're never going up a level because I don't think I will live another 4 years to be playing. You know what I mean? To get that much
I
XP.
understand. I
But
understand.
but
But
when you do
but
factor in all those things, and you do start to get more money, and you do start to get more powerful magic items and fight more powerful monsters, then those tables aren't as insurmountable as you might initially think. D&D treasure tables are crazy ones, are worth so much, yeah. But literally in the 2E treasure table, it looks, at first glance, it looks identical to 1E, except the actual, what you get is cut literally in half, but the percentages are the same. So you literally get half as much gold and treasure and magic items as you did in 1E. If I knew that as the first thing I knew about 2E, I would not own any 2E books. be like, I'm not making it twice as hard for my players just because you wanted to take out, titties and you know and demons. You know what I mean? Because that's literally the most definitive thing that was pissing off the moms against Dungeons and Dragons. You know damn well nothing pissed them off more than that. Had nothing to do with the witchcraft. It was the titties and the ass and their little boys and their little girls seeing this stuff when, let's face it, back in the 80s, um, women were plumper, I'm going to say. Maybe it's only been, you know, gotten worse, especially
Yeah,
now.
it's gotten
But
worse.
you know what I mean. Your bro's mom was nothing, to write home about, when it came to that department. But here you got, these fantasy characters that were in these books, and like the saying goes, no one hates a woman more than another woman.
So we're talking thieves and
Yeah.
and subclasses and stuff like that.
Hmm.
Uh, the worst one I've ever found, and I'm going to give Gygax. I don't know why he did it, but I don't think the thief acrobat's worth anything. I don't have no idea why he even put it inside the book. Inside the
I
book.
can tell you why. If the cartoon came out first, that would explain it. The other
Right.
thing is to allow for another kind of thief that's specialized in being more agile than dexterous. You know what I mean? Because hand-eye coordination and agility are not the same thing. Someone who
Right.
can jump
Right.
and tumble and tightrope walk. Maybe Gygax saw like a movie or something, or someone doing the tightrope walk and went, "Well, gosh, my players are always running around with grappling hooks and rope. Wouldn't it be cool if the thief just went across the rope?" You know what I mean?
Yeah,
Like Paul.
you know what I call it? I call them city thieves. That's what I call the thief acrobat. I call them city thieves because you're in the city.
Well,
I mean,
the,
it,
the term you're looking for is second story man or cat
yeah,
burglar.
yeah.
Uh,
That's that.
that's fine,
Uh,
and that should be a thing. But that same guy who can do those things should still be able to, you know, open up a lock. I mean, what's the point of being able to get to the rooftop of the building? Oh, freaking door's locked up here. I can't get in. Well, let's try some other way.
right.
That's dumb. That's dumb as hell. You should be.
So,
And I believe it was on identification and ownership of said magic item. No, Palladium does not have the best XP system because it's got the same kind of numbers,
mhm.
but the XP for victories in combat, and it should have had everything that D&D had plus what it had because it took out what you got XP for in D&D and gave you a whole bunch of stuff that it stole from Arduin. Okay, literally almost line for line. If you go look at the Arduin XP table, that's what it was, which meant you were never going to get very high level. You started out great, which is fine, but players want that dopamine hit of going up a level more than they want to play in a lot of cases, and uh, it was dumb to pull that out. You would have even more people playing if you got XP for the other things as well. You get like what 300 for defeating Doctor Doom. Shut the fuck up. And you need what 2,500 for get to second level. But I just beat the world's mightiest villain, whether by luck or skill, and I don't even get a percentage of a level, a significant portion. I mean, sorry, but when you beat up a bad guy like who's like way outclasses you, you get something. It's not just like a cool story, bro. You know what I mean? Um, but that's the way they went. And when I hear people having these characters that are high level in Palladium, I'm like, what, did you literally like play every day like I did? Because even when I did, um, my players, we played a Palladium game for 15 years, and most of the characters weren't even 10th level. Yeah, you should get them. we've see. Here's the problem. Nobody here, nobody in any show, any game, anything has ever owned a magic item in the real world. So we have absolutely no way to gauge how much that would influence and change our life. If we got something that was scientifically provable, repeatable, that is a magic item, our life would change forever, right? We can't even imagine because, for the most part, everybody knows that there's no such thing. Titties and Demons, the RPG, coming soon. Yes, yes. We have teas and demons at home. So I truly believe that I lived in Germany. I saw a lot more nude images in museums and sculptures. Sure, Oban. And I live in California, and I could just go down any busy street, and I can see damn near the same thing walking up and down the street, and nobody's batting an eye. You know. Hey, what's up, Coco? Uh, New game.
Anyway,
The jock was the best class. I don't know. I had a friend who really liked the jester. Uh, no, it's not. It's not just that. What you can do with uh, uh, money when you don't have it, and you start getting real money, the doors that open for you. Maybe it's not the perfect way to mechanize it in the game, but it's the closest approximation you can get when you do a job, when you did your first job and you got your first $1,000 paycheck, versus $100 paychecks. The doors that open for you in the real world were many, depending on your station, your class, your profession, etc. The things you can do. Again, I use the analogy of winning the lottery. If you win the lottery, the things you can do, yeah, most people squander it away and are worse off afterwards. But that could be counted as a whole lot of experience points, but in the wrong direction. But if you win the lottery, you win $1 million tomorrow, your life changes and you can do things, and you can now be admitted into circles where you could not go before. You can go out and afford an expensive suit, and you can fit in places you could never fit in before. The backdoor man class. I don't even want to know what that is, man. I think you should get XP for everything you do. All of that encourages players to do all of that. If you only encourage people to do one thing over another, guess what they're going to do? They're going to do the other thing that gets them the most XP. But if you tell them it's whatever you do, you're going to get some XP for. You don't know how much yet. When you figure it out, okay, cool. Fighters should want to fight to get more XP. That's what they do. That's what they want to do, anyways. Magic users, magic. That's why the one thing too he did do well was, say, well, clerics and magic users get XP for doing their magic user stuff. Thief gets double XP for gold if they steal it, because not just the money is the reward, but the idea that they figured out a way to get away with stealing it.
well, okay. Shadow, what do you think about players in your game, thieves taking the initiative and wandering off and pilfering a little bit on their own?
I think the other players are going to have a field day with their character because yeah, magic blanket. It's like this. How are they getting away with it without the other players hearing about it?
Well, I mean, my guys are on outdoor adventures. They go on outdoor adventures a lot, and they've got into situations where they're fighting and stuff, and the thief and the magic users, of course, always back up and go, "Hey, we did our job," and they start doing their things. I've had a couple. I've had one kid who said, "I'm going to try to sneak away." I said, "Make a roll," and I made him move silently roll. He made the roll, and I said, "Okay, you move away silently from him," and he snuck off and he found a treasure and he pilfered 22,000 gold pieces worth of gems like that. And he
Mm-hmm.
came back to the group. And I'm like, okay, you can't say anything to anybody. You can't say it. But as soon as you pull out some of those gems, if they see it, you're liable to get killed, and well, you
Then
got to
they'll
live
take the
with it.
stuff.
So
Yeah, I mean, like online, I was discussing it. You could secret squirrel notes and DM messages back and forth
right.
without the players knowing. In person, if you pull that shit in person, and the first time the player hands a note to the DM as a thief, everybody at my table is going to look at you and go, "We want to read that note."
Well,
And I would encourage them to forcibly
at
take
my
that
table,
note, turn it
at
upside
my table,
down.
everybody knows those notes are privileged communications between the
We would
players
still
and
we would
myself.
still outnumber. There's four of us. There's a thief and there's a DM. Who do you think's going to win?
Well, the thief's
That's
going to
just
lose.
breaking the social contract. You know what I mean?
Well,
That's saying, yeah, I like you guys, but I also have no problem taking from you. You know what I mean? Like I said before, the thief already goes up fast enough, faster than any other class in AD&D. You know, so what? They want to go up even faster? Because that's ultimately. I mean, there's not a whole lot the thief is going to get to buy with that money. You know,
oh,
unless
I
you
know.
have magic shops. If you do, then understandable why a thief might do that because it's like, well, hey, I really wanted to get some +1 leather armor, and you guys said screw you, so I'm gonna get it. You know, I'm tired of freaking getting whacked or beat up. Maybe this will help out a little. You know, but I mean, uh, yeah, it's
But you got to remember though, even in a regular game that I'm playing, and there's no thief doing any hunky dunky work or anything like that. There are times that I'll stand up and I have to explain to, take another player away and explain something to them about what they're finding or whatever, not in front of the group, because it's something happens to their body like a curse, or they find something that either they can share or they can't share, a little information that they read or something like that, because it adds intrigue to the game. I mean, you have to have a little bit of that in the game. You can't just keep everything wide open, otherwise it's just like, all right, I might as well just be telling a story. You know what I mean? So I like to have a little of that there, so that players are like, okay, do I tell this to the group or do I keep it secret for later information? You know what I mean? Or preserve something, because I want the group to move forward in this timeline or this adventure
sure.
this way. Or you know what I'm saying? Or do I want to tell them, and I know the majority of them are going to go, nah, I don't want to go over there and fight this whatchamacallit. You know what I'm saying? It's
Mhm.
there's that you got to weigh that as a dungeon master, where you got to go, all right, I got to bring this character off the way, tell him some things, and then bring him back, and then he's got to make that decision for himself and telling the group. So
Mhm.
yeah,
Real quick here, Steven, if you give all three to your characters XP for money, XP for kills, XP for magic items, they'll level out of the module before they finish it. If you mean they're in a dungeon and they're going to gain so much XP as to go up levels, first off, you can't go up levels in a dungeon. You got to go and train. And that takes time. And if you're going to leave the dungeon because you went ding, I'm going to stop telling you how much XP you get until you're done. You know what I mean? If you literally go, well, we all leveled up in the middle of the dungeon and we know it. Let's go back, train, and come back. I'm going to restock the dungeon, and from now on, I'm not going to tell you how much XP you get until you're done, because that's stupid. People don't do that. People don't know. Hey,
I never
I
give
suddenly
XP until the very end, and sometimes not even at the very end. If they're not back in the city, my rule is if you're not back in the city, 95% of the time, I don't give you XP until you get back to the city, and then I tell you what you get for
that's not a bad
XP.
idea. Plus, also, if you play by the rules, once you get enough XP to level up, you don't get any more no matter what you do. So it's a
Right,
really good idea to not identify your magic items first. You
right.
do that right after you level up. You go, oh yeah, remember those magic items we got? Let's go have them identified. and
But
then
I
you
don't
get
want.
the
Here's,
XP.
here's what I don't want happening, and I've had this before. When I've told people they're XP in the middle of the adventure, and two or three of them are going up a level, they automatically go, "Let's go back to the city and get our stuff." You know what I mean? They're like, "We're going
Exactly
back to
what I
the
said.
city."
Because you don't know. You don't ever in life hear that little ding as the little counter goes. You know what I
Yeah,
mean? And like you went up a level. Oh, I better go back to school. That doesn't happen. That's so gamey as to make it an analog video game, and you might as well just give them levels when they level up to
right.
just for sake of story continuity, which doesn't make sense. I
And then you
like
got to charge them for going up. They've got to get trained. So it's like, hello,
exactly.
here's
I
the training.
love that. I love that mechanic of you have to go train, you have to pay for the guy, you have to find the guy, you have to do all the things and spend the time, etc.
It,
I've been through training for various careers in my life, and I know how expensive and time consuming and beneficial it is.
and it's harder
Player
for
versus
certain.
player,
It's
nice.
got to be
Oh,
harder for certain ones than it is other ones. Like an illusionist is pretty hard. A druid, I love the druid one. Well, the druid's like, well, I want to train. I'm back in the city. Well, guess what? You don't get training in the city. You get training 100 miles away. In this place, it's going to take you X number of days to get there to find somebody to do your training, and then you got to come back. This ranger, he's mainly an outdoors wilderness guy. Well, you got to go find this ranger out here in the city, and you got to go on a separate thing with him and stuff like that. Most dungeon masters are just like, okay, pay me this much money, and you got your next level. No, mine's not like that. It's like, oh no, you're going from sixth level to seventh level. Well, you got at least 3 months out in the woods with another druid learning some things or something like that.
I don't go that far. I just go by the 1, 2, 3, or 4 weeks. That should be
Well,
enough because they're going to be doing it. They're going to be
I
going back to
also
training.
include like a commute time and stuff like that in there because they
It
got
could
to
be, yeah.
find.
If for some of the more rare character classes, because let's face it, cleric, fighter, magic user, thief should all be in town.
Yeah,
You should be able to find somebody in your town, village, etc. Maybe you got to go to the next town because it's bigger. Okay,
right,
fine.
right. Well,
But
like a paladin,
druids, rangers, illusionists,
you're not going to find
assassin.
a paladin in a city of 1,000. You're going to have to go to someplace
I
like that.
don't think that you need to find a paladin, just a cavalier.
Yeah,
Or a knight or a fighter or something.
right.
Now, Xnard has a really long thing here. I'm going to read it all off. Regarding experience points as gold pieces, it said, quoting myself and Greyhawk, Grognard, DM, Angelo, and Tenkar discussion. I only know one of those guys personally. I've long ago concluded accounting for experience points is a waste of time, considering what level up really entails beyond surviving life-threatening, dangerous adventures. One, securing and maintaining safe home, repetitive training, practicing, studying, sparring, clout with a guild or order, beach class 3, fees, ties, merit of the guild's club, and or pertinent, secret societies and or local government paramount. That's well and good, but one, it is a game. Two, there are rules. Three, you need to have a system where everybody knows what they have to do to gain those things, and not everybody goes by that. Your good old fashioned fighter just needs to find someone who can teach him to fight better. There's no guild, there's no any of that. You just all you need to do is get in a lot of fights with someone who can tell you while you're fighting, whether it's sword or fist or weapon or whatever, hey, next time try it like this or do it like that or whatever. That's all that a fighter needs.
Right.
And it gets more complicated for each profession.
I want to
Obviously, the
address.
cleric has got to go back to church. The magic user's got to go to the library, the laboratory, or his mentor, or some sort of mentor. The thief is going to probably have to go to the guild or prison. If they go to prison, they're going to learn from the system of higher education, or they can go to the guild and they can get trained professionally. You've got to have mechanics in play so that players can understand what it is they need to do to get those things, which are levels, which are improving their character, taking it completely out of a mechanical system that gives you checks, box to check, to off the checklist. I did this, I did this, I did this, or I just had to do this. It's different for each profession, maybe even each race. But most, like you said here, like maintaining a safe home. What the fuck is that? I I can't tell you on one hand the number of times players even cared about that. It was like the next tavern, or we're sleeping outdoors, settling down, buying a home or property. No, we're not doing that.
Yeah.
No, we're going to the next town. We're never going to be in the same place for more than a couple of days unless it's training.
I want to
Practicing,
address
all that.
Steve Kennedy
Just
here.
mentioned it. Paying the fees, cool. But for the most part, most role players and players don't really want to role play the training session. They want a montage at best, and let's get on with the story.
Right.
It,
Steve,
it, it's
I
in,
see Steve
in
has this
theory, it
simple.
sounds good on paper, but in practice, it's not going to happen.
I see Steve has a simple math here of doing his upping a training level. Well, Steve, if it's fourth level, it's 4 times that amount. So it's like 1,600 to get your next level. They got cash to spend. Why not spend it? If your
Yeah.
first
Oh,
level
and
is 100,
that sounds like socialism and communism. I want no part of that. You get what you get. You do it. Otherwise, I mean, you're literally incentivizing people to go. Yeah, I'm not using my potions. Make the cleric heal me.
yeah.
Make this or that. You do it. I'm just here to siphon XP. Whether anybody does that consciously or says it out loud, there are people that will do that. That will make the choice. It's like, well, I'm not expending any of my expendable magic items. There's nothing in it for me. Everybody else can do the heavy lifting. I'm running the thief anyway, so I'm a bastard. So, or I'm chaotic neutral. So that's what my character would do. And I know those are all examples of bad players and bad mentalities, but people are all sinners and they're all going to do bad things. Uh, you know, that's just the way it is. That's clever with the fake notes, but at some point, uh, somebody's going to grab a note from somebody else's hand, and I'm not going to stop them. If you got something to say it at the table. We're all friends here. Oh, okay. Because any note passing at this day and age is perceived as trying to get something past everybody else but who you're handing the note to. And who is that? The DM. You're trying to get something from the DM that you don't want other people to know about. Well, I thought we were a team. You don't want me to know what you're asking the DM? Well, how do I know that means that's
Well,
not
if, if
it's not going to directly affect me
right,
in a
but if
negative.
if a character group is inside a city, and let's say the magic user says, "I want to go do this," and you go, "Okay, send me a note," because nobody else in the party's gonna know that he went to XYZ magic shop, and this one's a thief and he wants to go rob some nobleman. It's like, send me a note, because you don't want the other people in the group to know this, that you're doing these things. And that's one of the things I have on my table is I tell everybody,
Okay,
I don't want
if
I
you're
don't want to know, I don't want anybody else knowing your alignment, period. And as for assassins, I tell them to fake it as something else. Fake it as just a thief, or fake it
well,
as
here's the thing.
or
Here's
fake
the
it
thing.
as a fighter, you know,
Couple of
because
things. If the players aren't together and you're passing notes because you're like maybe you don't want people knowing you're going to the freaking red light district. Okay,
right.
you're not with the party, so that kind of okay, fine. You're in town and you're on your own and you're writing a note to the DMs like I'm doing this. Cool. Well, I'm still going to watch my money, make sure jackass over here isn't stealing it. Okay, knowing alignment. If you've got something to hide, you probably shouldn't be in the party. If you're not a good guy or an obvious scoundrel, and you're trying to hide the fact that you're chaotic evil from the party, the DM has failed by letting you in the party when there's like a paladin in the party or a ranger in the party or a monk in the party. People who could lose their abilities because they're hanging out with this jackass that you as the DM let into the group.
Well, did you ever play with a shadow? Have you ever played with a doppelganger hidden as an NPC in your party?
Oh, absolutely.
Okay, so I mean, it's the same thing.
No, it's
It-
not. You as the DM is
why?
different than you as the player. Because the
Why
DM
is
is
it?
supposed to do that kind of shit. The DM is supposed to do that. The players are not supposed to do things that harm the other players.
I guess we're gonna have to just. I'm not saying they're harming them. It's just that.
If you cause me to lose my paladin abilities because I didn't know I was hanging out with an assassin or an evil character because I wasn't allowed to detect
But
evil,
hold on, a paladin would detect that pretty quick.
no, no.
You don't think
See,
so?
well,
The first time,
according to hold
the
on,
first time I
according to the
played with
rule,
Ernie Gygax. Let me tell you about the first time I ever played with Ernie. I'm sitting there. He gave me an assassin,
Mhm.
cleric assassin type, or an assassin type, fighter assassin, evil as hell. Uh, we're in
clearly,
the dungeon, and all of a sudden, I hear the mutterings behind me of a magic user saying, "Detect," or a cleric going, "Detect."
yeah, okay, I gotta
And
stop it
I'm
right
like,
there. Gygax himself said you should never be able to detect alignment on your fellow players.
right,
So if you can't do it, how does the paladin do it?
but why? Why was that rule invented? Why? Why?
Because in the
It
old
doesn't
days,
make sense.
before the paladin and the ranger and those professions had those restrictions and things like that, it was more of a war game, so it didn't matter. Once it became more of a role playing game, it mattered. And if you're letting that shit happen, you could literally let it happen and then have to arbitrate. Well, you've been hanging out with an evil guy and you notice him doing some shady shit and you didn't investigate properly when you as a player kind of knew he was up to shit that you should have investigated. You're not a paladin anymore, you're just a fighter.
Well,
Don't put you If
thankfully,
you don't put yourself into that situation, you don't have to
thankfully,
make those arbitrary rulings.
thankfully, I've only had one paladin in my group in 10 years, and he
Really.
died, pretty quickly. So
Yeah,
the
yeah. Okay, going back to whatever we are saying. Yeah, you should. Uh, the XP is pretty much irrelevant until you get to somewhere where you can train. Okay, then it matters, and the costs and all those things are, kind of up in the air for you to, figure out how you're going to do that. But I feel level loss every time I had. Hold on, every time I had a girlfriend, sometimes 2 to 4 levels lost. Sixth level no longer requires a tutor. Okay, yeah. We just killed the big bad evil guy for Secrets of Bone Hill, and we have to tally up all the monsters because it hasn't gone back to Russian for multiple weeks. Okay. And if I had Akuchi, if I'd been playing for 20 sessions at 4 hours a session and I didn't level up, I wouldn't be there for 10 hours without leveling up. My time is way more valuable than that. I don't. I'm not going to tell you what I make, but um, when I'm playing and I'm in a game, I better be having a really good fucking time, or I'm out. Just what I can do with my spare time. Mind you, I'm retired. 100 hours for not even level one. There is no amount of fun you could describe at the table that can equate to what I can get done in an hour. You know what I'm saying? It's just no freaking way. I hate that. I hate fucking stingy DMs. It costs them nothing to hand out decent money, decent rewards, decent adventure, decent action, decent magic items. It costs you nothing um, to do that. What are you holding back for? Are you incapable of handling levels over 7? If that's the case, cool, let me know. I won't be in the game. But if you can't do it, if you cannot run a high level game, and you're going to stifle us and keep us back, hold us down because you're incompetent, let me know. It's not a bad thing, unless you deem it as such. It's just I've been doing this longer than anybody else I know, and I can literally handle anything you can throw at me. I might get flustered or frustrated, because I'm human, and I was like, oh shit, I didn't think of that. And I'm more mad at myself than mad at you for being able to do whatever you can do. But if you can't handle decent progression at a decent pace, then you're just lying to all of the players at your table. Yeah, we're going to have a great time. If by that you mean never going to sixth level. If that's your idea of a great time, then we're going to have one of those. You also need a motivating song. Yeah, do the montage. Absolutely. Whoa. Doman said something I want to see here. Trust me, players will select items that give them the most XP rather than what is most useful. It is why you share XP. No, if players are that kind of a dick, I want everybody at the table to know that. You know what I mean? I want you guys to know that this guy values himself more than continuing to play at the table with you guys. Right? I mean, if
Well,
someone's like that,
I'm sure you've had it where you've had one character, one guy at the table that picks the same race, the same class, everything the same every game they play. And
yeah,
I
that's me because I keep rolling shit stats. And every game says you can be a fighter with, a 5 strength, but you can't be a magic user with a 5 intelligence.
I had a guy gamed with us for about 2 years. Every character was a thief, a halfling thief. It was no imagination whatsoever, and it was just like,
A
and
buddy
then
of
you would,
mine ran that campaign as well, but he actually, this is really clever what he did. He made a thieves guild, right? And each hobbit was named after a soft drink: Dr. Pepper, Mr. Pibb, Pepsi, Sprite. Uh, it was very clever, mind you. This was back in the '80s. Rich, wherever you are, I hope you're having a great one. It was really clever, and they all fit. And I think mine was Dr. Pepper because I was a thief cleric. Um, Go figure. But I also had another one. I think no, I think I also had Werner's or Werner, which was a ginger ale, and if you're familiar with it, it's
yep, I
literally
know it is.
it's got a dwarf as their little mascot. So I had a dwarf try to join the group, um, and I forget who the assassin was. He might have been Moxie or Pepsi, um, trying to kill Coke all the
Anyways,
time.
yeah, I just players like that, the unimaginative players are the drag on the game. They're the biggest drag on the game. All they do is sit there and they just go, yeah, I'm going to do this. Nothing else. You're not going to get imaginative. You're not going to do anything. You're just going to sit there. It's just, what am I here for? Am I just an entertainment device? This DM just, I'm just telling you a story. And when it comes to you, you just, yeah, I'm going to do this. And it's the same thing over and over again. I players like that drive me insane. I want imaginative play. You know what I'm saying? It's just, you know what? You're in a situation, do something. If you got to fireball yourself to get out of the situation, do it. You know what I mean?
I'm gonna have to disagree with Owen on this one. Um, it's not chaotic evil. It's literally any non-lawful or good action. I
Mhm.
mean, they should be the strictest, hardest thing to run.
They are. And
Period.
that's why I don't like them in my game. It's just like, oh God, there's a paladin in the gear.
That's weird because like most of the original romance stories and heroes were about paladins or someone trying to be as close to a paladin. The chivalric code was what most of D&D, or a big chunk of it, was based on. The idea of the knight in shining armor, the hero. It was mostly about that. The Holy Grail, King Arthur, Charlemagne, the oldest and earliest of those fantasy stories or fictional stories or whatever you want to call them were kind of based on that. But I get it. Over time, it's evolved, and to be honest, there's probably not one person on this planet who's worthy of being called a paladin. Probably hasn't been for hundreds of years. People are scum, and so you know you got to deal with the best you can get. Um, so I've never seen a player. Oop, I didn't want to pin that. Actually become a 10th level paladin. It's just it's an unrealistic. Even Lancelot failed, right? It's an unrealistic expectation, but the striving to be the best you can be is the true essence of a hero. Most DMs I've played with that hold players back, like you described, was due to ego. They apparently got some kind of thrill bullying players. Also, hate DMs that everything you do will fail. Yeah, I don't do that. Um, uh, any of that. I don't care. I mean, go up levels. Fucking me. Start out at 20th level. I'm cool with that. You know, if that's what you want to do, and everybody else is doing the same thing, kind of thing. I'm not gonna let you be 20th and then be first. That would be, ridiculous. And she better be hot as hell. Just
Mhm.
saying. Rangers can lose their Rangers. So can monks. And maybe priests if they were to do something opposed to their deity's wishes. The deity can say, "I strip you of all your abilities. You're now just a fighter with a D8 hit die. Good luck with that shit." Um, did I? I don't. I'm not sure what you're talking about. Uh, if you're talking about the chaotic evil thing, chaotic evil is far different than being chaotic neutral. Sir Joe Friday the Paladin. Not sure exactly what you're talking about. When you say chaotic evil, doing a chaotic evil act is far different than doing a lawful neutral act. If you did that, uh, when you could have taken the lawful good act and you could choose the lawful, clerics were harder than paladins. Mm, maybe, uh, but a cleric could be chaotic evil. A cleric could be chaotic neutral if that's what you're shooting for. Being lawful good is. Oh, did you say chaotic or evil? I thought you there was no space between that. Let's see. Oh, okay. I didn't see the or. Okay. Don't be pedantic on me unless you're going to be in the show. I got to go through a lot of freaking messages to keep up with folks. So, but yeah, not a fan. Not a fan of players trying to screw over each other. It's hard enough these days to get people to show up, and when you only play online, um, it's a great way to lose a lot of players.
Well, okay. There's
Like,
screwing over and screwing with. There's a definite line divided there.
yeah, well, see, screwing with in person, I find is either done between actual friends and less so um, with any sort of maliciousness. It's just like practical jokes, that kind of thing. That's
Right,
fine. If you're friends or you're trying to be part of the group, cool.
right,
But if you try to do that online, everybody's going to assume the worst. You know,
right.
playing in person and online completely.
Well,
They're completely different hobbies. They have a
right.
lot of similarities, but they're you've heard the expression the keyboard warrior, hiding in their basement. Well, a lot of gamers that play online are just that.
Mhm. Well, like I said, look, in my game, this happened a few sessions ago. Is that
Mm-hmm.
they were in a library, and one of them's a illusionist,
Mm-hmm.
and single woman. She's also a magic user type, and she found the illusionist in our party quite handsome, and so she, being a single woman, started pursuing him. And this is a running joke through the whole game that day. And finally, he decided he's locking himself in his room and not coming out. And some of the other players kept telling this woman, "He's here, he's there." And she kept knocking on his door like a stalker. And, and he was having none of it. But it was a fun interlude for the game. Now who's
What's up,
coming in?
Owen? That's screwing with.
Hey,
That's
hello.
not that's not trying to harm or take from a player
Right.
or character.
Well, well, to me, if you're doing a party, then everyone shares in both rewards and benefits and the negative aspect as well. If you don't show up for the session, you don't get XP for that session. That's the way I look at it.
But okay, give you a couple examples. Uh, you single-handedly kill the big bad monster with a single hit, or for whatever reason you do the only damage and you defeat a big bad monster that's worth you know a tidy amount of XP. Why should anybody else get it or a
Because you
portion
all
of it?
shared the risk. You all
There was
shared
no
the risk.
risk. They got there, yeah, but the actual deed in itself, they're going to get the XP for everything up to that point. But as soon as the player X defeats the big bad monster, on his own, let's say, that's at least worth a bonus above and beyond.
No, you shared all of our magic. We took out that one demon. So I don't want to hear this that what you're saying versus how you were playing are two different things. But I'm okay with it as long as we're going to do it as a group. It's just if you're going to play mix and match on that, it gets kind of frustrating.
Coochie. I have one of my games. You know what she collects? She's a good gnome illusionist, or gnome cleric. She collects she gets evil items and shoves them in a vault. She hides them away from people. Not to
That never ends well. I've seen that before. That never ever ends well.
It didn't end well for
right?
them
Right
either.
on?
But she purposely does that. It didn't end well for her anyway. So
Yeah.
but it was
when
it was
when
a,
you know something's a certain way, like an evil artifact or magic item, you need to get rid of that as soon as possible. And then hanging on to more and more, there's a good chance you're going to become possessed by something that maybe the source of all evil is like. You've just
well,
opened a door for me to walk through.
she kept shoving this stuff into this little small space, and it eventually blew up on her. And I mean, literally blew up, and her whole home is gone. She went with it.
Yeah, Xnard, I agree with you. What 2E did with the magic user, making it a magic user slash, you could be an illusionist or a magic user or both. It was just a category of spells. It was kind of, but you got to remember, it was the evolution of the thought process of magic users and illusionists. Personally, I think if you're like a full on illusionist, you should also have some abilities like hide in shadows, move silently, um, some sleight of hand things, some, 3 card Monty stuff going on as well, some rabbit out of the hat, versus, just making holograms. You got to learn some stuff to get to that point. Um, and why things that live up to 20 times longer than humans were limited in magic when, like, elves, and I've gone through this before, elves were probably there when magic was created and humans came later. And if you switch that around, it's just to be contrary, because it makes sense that a divine like being came first. Why would the creator make humans and then make elves? Like, well, humans are pretty cool, but I'm going to make something better. No, it's supposed to be that while elves were better at all these things, what was more near and dear to the creator's heart would be something that's more finite and more flawed, and to watch them, advance. Elves are like, you know, all that's missing is, in some cases, is the wings from them being like angels. And that's how they should be kind of run. Is like
I
a
always thought elves would
fallen.
be more introspective. You know what I mean? They would be more introspective about, be like, oh, I'm going to go adventuring for a few years, and then I'm going to retire for 20 years, and oh, my money's run out. I'm going to go back out and do that same thing again.
Yeah,
And,
yeah, yeah. And like in the beginning, like the first elves would have been very different from like the current day elves. The current day elves would be like, yeah, I'm gonna go out and check on the world and see what's going on, and then come back home and report and tell everybody what's going on, and then we'll take like 100 years to figure out what we're gonna do about it. You know what I
Mhm.
mean? Because they would kind of look at themselves as something of the shepherds of the world, making sure that these upstart young races didn't start chopping down the forests and ruining the world for everybody else, which is precisely what humans and orcs and all the other races do. From the elves' perspective, all the other races kind of screw up the world, where the elves just encourage things to grow to the point where they like probably don't even ever kill anything except meat animals for food, and even then they'd probably make sure that that animal had children so that the species doesn't die out, whereas you know humans are really famous for you know ending the existence of many species. Orcs and goblins and trolls would be, similar for doing similar things. Um, and your elves would, you know, probably be the only thing on the planet trying to fix that. But dang it, in my in person, hold on, in my in person, we had a girl quit playing because her genders character's gender swap, and she was actively trying to get the
Well,
character killed. Granted, the player was young and immature. Well, here's the thing. Um, I have never put one of those girdles of masculinity, femininity into my game ever, because I saw it for what it was. I guess, omen.
that's just a cursed item, as far as I'm concerned. You know,
That's one way. Your private message. That's one way to run the world, not mine. Why does it have to be that way? It's my world. I'll make up my history. I don't need help from other people. I got to do it like the same way. Everybody's got to have it where the elves are the bad guys deep down. They can be bad guys, but for different reasons, but they don't have to be. They don't have to be the worst thing in the game. You know what I mean? That's
well,
somebody else's inability to imagine them being the best thing in the world.
you got everything from drow
Trying
to gray elves. I mean, there's everything in between there for elves. You've got jungle
right,
elves, you've got snow elves, you've got
here's the problem. Here's the problem. It all boils down to this: if you ran or played in a game where elves were the best thing, which they kind of already are, um, then there's the fear that nobody would ever run humans. Really, people play half orcs all the fucking time, and they're the worst thing. And people still play it for the challenge or the idea of playing something new and novel and unique or different. Um, but most people, what it really boils down to, can't imagine a world where humans aren't the end all be all to everything. We can't imagine living in a world where there's something better than humans, and that's just the way it is. Deal with it. The elves are the best thing ever, and you can play one. I got no problem with it. You don't want to play one, that's fine. But just know that the elves are the freaking damn near demigods walking around on the planet. And if you want in the game, here you go. There's a character sheet. If you don't, there's the door. Because we can't get past that. We're humans, so we've got to think that we're the best. And maybe, in fact, we are. But in a fantasy what if situation, you're running a fantasy game. What would it be like to live in a world where the elves are the benevolent oppressors? That's an interesting, to me, dichotomy. You've got literally Galadriel has got the ring. She is everyone will love her and despair. That would be like a quandary and a interesting situation to run in. But most people don't want that. They want it to be the humans that are the best, and they can't handle the idea of anything being better than humans, unless it's dwarves. Something like that. Uh, Greenpeace, loving, tree hugging elves. I know, I know. Because here's the thing. Uh, because I do see them as being described the closest approximation is angels. And if you follow, any kind of, you know, angel lore, they're just as fallible as humans, but with just way more starting power. What would that be like? What would that be like to run these things that are, you know, essentially perfect, except that one little screw that goes loose up here? And what could that do? And what would that be like to try to live through that and persevere against that? And maybe even have the great human elf war where the humans, however they do it, we have the stories of humans beating the aliens that are higher technology, right? Like Independence Day, those aliens had us beat, uh, hands down. They should have won, but because good old human perseverance and ingenuity and whatever, we win. Well, it's the same thing with having the elves or maybe some race of demigods or something like that on the planet, and then the humans strive against that. It's just a different way of telling the same story, or running the same world, but for fantasy. Mm-hmm. They're one-way ride from birth to death through a one-way door. Uh, the younger races covet those delicious elfin cookies. No, dude, I'm not doing that. I here's the thing. I have seen people quit and leave games and rage quit over a variety of things, but usually it's when something so transformative in a negative fashion happens to their character to where all their time seems like a waste, only for them to put on a girdle of femininity and turn into a dude or a chick against their will. With even one day like that, the jokes that they're going to have to live through, or the possibility that they're never going to get the thing off or never be able to remove the curse. It's like I'm out. You know, uh, Not me personally, but I've seen it, or like people losing a leg, or getting a hook for a hand, or other things like that that just handicap them so much. It's like, yeah, I'm done. I'm done with this character, or I'm done with this group, or whatever. Um, those things are going to happen, but some things are kind of beyond the pale, and that's one of them. Turning your big strong dude into a big strong chick, uh, it's it's just like it's kind of bad taste, if you ask me. Yeah, that's a horrible, horrible idea. I know there aren't many solutions, but giving a character to another player when they're absent, no, that's only the GM should be able to run that character, unless the player specifically says, "Hey, Joe, you run my character. I'm not going to be there. Don't do anything stupid." You know. And in this day and age, uh, you could easily get on the phone or text a message like, "Hey, here's the situation. Your character has this choice. What's it going to be?" You know. And if you can't get a response or you can't get, whatever, you can just freeze frame maybe that scene and come back to it later and do other stuff with the rest of the party. Maybe just pull something out of your ass that happens to delay the decision. Or you could maybe call it there. It's like, well, we really need so and so. I was in a game where uh, one of the players, we were trying to rescue his wife, his character's wife, right? And he couldn't be there for that game. And I'm like, we're not going to go do this thing without him. You know what I mean? And I was just a player. It's like, are we really we're gonna play, and he's gonna miss out on you know that moment of rescuing his wife? You guys really you catch what I'm saying? Wouldn't that be something you'd be like, yeah, let's just wait until they're let's wait till like next week or whatever, right? That's a big like moment, an emotional thing. I know it's not real, but they've been working and striving to get to this moment to rescue his true love, whatever you want to call it. And I missed that session. How was it? Was it cool? You know, no, you got to be there. Just like some of the bad stuff. Yeah, nerdy, you were there. You know exactly what I'm talking about. When Noah couldn't be there, we just said, "F it, we'll just play next week," right? Yeah, that's why I wouldn't do it. It'd be like, no, I can't make it. Leave me behind, leave me at town. I don't care. Because if you fucking kill my character when I'm not there because someone failed a saving throw, um, that ain't right. You make your own die rolls. If anybody at all is going to do it, it should be the GM. I've seen people run another person's character for sessions and actually did. Yeah, yeah. That is one of the on another uh, possibility, and that you kind of don't want to do that either. And they're like, "Fine, you play my character. I'll make up a new one." You know.
Hey, Chris, I played a guy's character here. Oh, I don't know, 6-8 months ago. I'm a character. When I play with somebody else,
Thanks for popping in. I got it. You were at work and couldn't be your usual
the,
rambunctious self.
anyways, this guy's name is Steve. I don't think he'd mind me saying this. Anyways, we went and killed a magic user.
They don't do that, Quasi. If you die, you're dead. And I don't do resurrect. I'll do things that like you're almost dead, or maybe either be a magic item that'll bring you back, but there's like one and it's a one charge thing. Um, or maybe there's a time travel thing, but I'm not doing quote unquote resurrect. The gods are not bringing you back. It's not going to happen. It's once you do it for one person, then everybody thinks they get one too. And I cannot think of any fantasy story where uh, a character died, gods brought him back. The next character died, the gods brought him back. Where everybody gets one resurrect. There's no fictional story that I know of like that. You might all die and then all come back at once. Like it was a dream or something. But I've never seen that. It makes it too gamey. And once one guy dies and gets brought back, everybody plays differently. They'll start
Yeah,
doing
first
stuff that would
edition,
never do.
though, Shadow. In first edition, there is like a 1% chance your god will recognize your bravery and everything else. If you can roll it, that they'll come back and do a divine intervention,
Hmm.
something like that. So
Right. But you have
if
to be
somebody's going
alive
to
to
die,
pray for it, don't you? No, I get it. I get it. But it also, um, says that the GM plays the deity, and the deity decides whether or not you get, like, I think it's third, fourth, and like third or fourth level spells and higher. The deity has to give the okay. If the deity says no, then no. And if I'm going to be throwing resurrection and reincarnates and raise deads around like that, what else are the gods doing? You know what I mean? Think about it, because this is something I've noticed. I'm getting ready to do a big video on it. The gods in games apparently are there just to serve the players, and to
no,
me,
I
that's
don't-
fucking lame. The gods, if you go just by the deities and demigods book, what the gods can do on a daily basis is stunning. They can literally be casting wish spells every day.
no, 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 no. I take it as a whole different thing. You're lucky if a god is going to answer you. You know what I mean? That's what I think. It's
What the gods can do themselves. What the
oh,
gods are doing when you're not looking
right.
should be amazing, otherworldly, freaking crazy
I,
shit.
I think of him as a Roman emperor sitting back eating bonbons and not bonbons, but grapes and everything else by servants and not caring too much about the little people.
And they've been doing it for thousands of years.
Mm-hmm.
That's retarded, dude. Do you know what kind of power and things they could make
Well,
and, and,
yeah,
and
but
create?
do you think they're creating worlds? Do you think they're off creating
Yes,
another? You do? Huh? Huh.
entirely depending on the deities. That's why there's hero, demigod, lesser god, greater god, and depending on which category they fall in. If you go by like the deities book, right, as an example, and you look up some of them, any deity that has magic user above 18th level, that's a wish a day minimum.
Right.
Okay,
But
right?
you also got the destroyer gods in there that are
Yeah,
sitting there battling them. So
right. And so the gods that are sitting back eating the bonbons and the cherries are probably getting their asses handed to them by the destroyer gods. So there's probably warring things going on to keep things in balance and in check, but
mhm.
I'm certain that they're trying to manipulate their worldly minions to do things that tip the balance in their favor, because ultimately the good gods would destroy the evil, or the evil would destroy the good at some point, would they not?
Well, there's got to be a
Or is it going to
balance.
be forever in balance because you can't pick a side as a DM?
There's got to be a balance there
Why?
because otherwise, by
So
now,
so
after thousands of
neutrality is
years,
actually so neutrality is actually the more powerful thing in the universe.
what did you say? Well, neutrality is it? Well, I don't
So
know.
so neutrality and balance is more powerful than good or evil,
Uh, you know what? Why not? Just for sake of argument, why not?
because then neutrality wins and evil and good eventually disappear and nobody gets anything done. I like the idea of one or the other side tipping the scales for a while, and then, like our pendulum we speak of in modern
Right.
culture, it goes to the left, it goes to the right. I prefer the back and forth, and sometimes those back, sometimes it's over here for like 1,000 years, sometimes it's over here for 500, sometimes it's here for 750, but it keeps moving. You know
Well,
what I
yeah.
mean? Otherwise you get stagnant, monotone, monochrome gray slime, as they call it.
Right. It's like Mother Nature. You can't predict what's going to happen. So,
Well, or can you? I mean, some of the gods have psychic abilities that could include precognition. Precognition allows you to look into the future, and if the god, like for example, the players can ask gods questions about the future,
mhm.
and they get answers. And sometimes they know the answer. Sometimes they just fake it. Sometimes they lie. According to Gygax, you randomly roll. For some reason, your lawful good deity told you something that was absolutely intrinsically untrue because that's what the random rolls told you. Um, that that doesn't make sense. So I try to, get in the mind of the deity. Is he going to say? What's he going to say when your lawful good clerics is like, is the next room full of monsters? No, they're just misunderstood orcs.
Yeah.
No, they're
Or
fucking monsters,
or
right?
or or
We're
the guy might say nothing. He might just say it isn't worthy of his answering the question. I mean, they can send all the messages they want, but it might not even get an answer. You know that as well as I do.
but I don't run Quasi. I don't run Egypt. I don't run Earth. I don't use anything like that. I will never. You will never run into Thor or Loki or anything from Earth in my games. It's just like I'm trying to get away from Earth to play these games, not like bring Earth into my games. Um, don't look into what Zeus is doing with his free time. Right, right, right. Uh, because it shouldn't just be, waiting for the players. Oh, I was waiting for your call. Yeah, no, they should be doing great things, and some of those great things, or devious, horrible, malicious things, could be big events in your game. Maybe this evil deity is trying to collect these artifacts so they can finally tip the scale in their favor, so they can bring on 1,000 years of darkness or winter or Taco Tuesdays. Um,
Well, I
you
mean,
know, there's bigger
look
things than
at
the players in the world.
Temple of Elemental Evil. Remember Temple of
Never ran it.
where three gods, a demigod, and a couple gods got together and tried to put things together. You know what I mean? An epicenter of evil and stuff like that. I mean, it happens. It's that's that swing you were talking about, where it swung to evil for a while, and the good came in and blasted it back, and now it's going back to evil again. It's that epicenter of a nexus. Let's just say.
Mhm. Yeah, Quasi, from the age of about 17 on, I've created my own pantheons from scratch. Sure, they may have had some influences because I'd be lying if I said they weren't, and I might not even know how I've been influenced, because that's how it works. But I make up all my own deities, all my own agendas for them and what they're doing because the world, while the game is based around the players, the world is not. The world doesn't give two shits about them, right? There should be bigger. There's always someone bigger and badder than you, and there should be in the game that how the players traverse those peaks and valleys is what makes it fun. Sometimes those valleys are going to include deities that are out for their heads because they serve the opposite thing. Sometimes they're going to have peaks where the gods shine down on them, give them a feast of heroes and pat them on the back, add a boy, guess what, you go up a level for free or some cool shit like that. But they're still you know and should be, if they are true gods, they should be freaking light years away from what the players can do and what they can understand, and what they're doing should be awesome, not just waiting on your call. Of course, I know how to make magic items and artifacts. I can give you a step by step freaking explanation. Uh, what do they do? Just fight the same orcs over and over again? I'm not sure what you mean by that. The gods in D&D sit around on YouTube live was arguing. I'm
Remember the
sure.
failure rate on creating any magical item, because they are not easy to make sometimes, and then the higher they are, the harder they are to make.
Mhm.
So you're gonna have some spectacular effects if you screw it up. People don't realize that. That's just sort of like, oh, well, plus one this, no problem. Plus
I
five.
absolutely do level drain and death. However, um, I don't arbitrarily kill people. I make things as difficult as I can. I use a lot of Arduin stuff. So just because you disarmed a trap on a chest doesn't mean there aren't two more, and one of
Mhm.
them's magical. So you think you disarmed the trap, you go to open it, and you get hit with a fireball in the face. It's like you didn't
Right.
detect magic,
Hey,
or for
Shadow,
runes or whatever.
I've had a guy
Um,
disarm a chest and he got cursed for
uh,
it. Just
okay. Here's the thing. As soon as one god was killed by that group, um, the rest of the pantheon should have singled out the players out individually at their worst possible moment and exterminated them. Your gods were weak, or your players were ridiculously powerful and or destined to do that sort of thing. If you know what I mean, the gods should not freaking the god should be so much more powerful and should know everything the players are going to do. That's what makes them gods. They're omniscient. They can see into the future. They can plan and plot and prepare for shit like that. Um, I know Corum went and did it in the Chronicles of Corum by Moorcock, but that was a book. And the idea that the players could go and kill Zeus, um, even if starting at the lowest level, the whole pantheon would know. Hey, that group over there, they just killed the freaking Cyclops, and they're gunning for the rest of us. You know what I mean? It shouldn't happen. They should be stopped. Um, and if you don't want them to be stopped as the DM, that's fine. You're well within your rights to do that, to play that power fantasy and have that kind of fun. But understand that every other DM out there would be like, no fucking way. Not going to happen. The gods should, like I said, should have so much power that even us as DMs, we should not be able to play them right. We can just kind of approximate. If you know, like I said, if you've got, think about it like this: you've got a god that says he's 18th level magic user and 25th level cleric, right? That means every day for thousands of years he could have cast a wish spell, and that wish spell could be, I get to be God forever, or I can do this, or if anytime this happens to me, this other thing will happen to prevent this thing from happening to me. They can make thousands and thousands of wishes, preemptive wishes, or what's the spell? Contingency. They can cast contingency on themselves every day, multiple times, to make all this shit impossible to happen, and should have done so before your characters were rolled up. That's how powerful gods should be. At least the greater and maybe even the lesser gods, if their character class descriptions as per the deities and demigods book says that they're a 15th or 18th level magic user, then they're casting limited wish, contingency, and wish spell every day on themselves. I'm sure it was a absolute blast. I had a character back in the day that collected up almost every artifact out of the Dungeon Master's Guide. I shouldn't have been allowed to get away with it, but we were young and didn't know what we know now. If someone tried to do that today, I'd smack them down so fucking hard. Not out of maliciousness or anything, but just because if you're going to go after the king, you better not miss. If you're going to go after something big and bad like that, some big, ridiculous sounding quest for power, you better be prepared to fail in a very spectacular way or succeed against all odds with the most cunning, devious plan, which should not be a hard thing when you've got five, four, three, two, six players thinking around what the DM is doing. The players have the advantage in numbers, maybe not brain power combined, but more often not they should. You know what I mean? A group of good players should be a bunch of very smart people that should be able to, pull one over on the DM. Uh, okay, nerdy. Then what does God mean? Is God just just some powerful dude? He's just a wizard. Yeah. They're if they're greater, maybe even lesser gods, they can very well be omniscient. Um, oh, they're not gods. That's what omnipresent, omnipowerful, omniscient. Those are all words used to describe gods. And if your gods aren't those, then they're really not gods. They're just very powerful mortals pretending to be gods. I don't know what you were venting, Gucci, but have at.
Well, Shadow, I'm going to have to drop out here. I got
No, it's okay.
here
I'm actually
at 30.
I'm
So,
19 minutes past my usual cutoff. It's always fun talking to you, man. I hope you uh, come back. I'll see you soon. Hey, have you seen DM James lately?
no, I haven't.
Okay, I know he did like a really late stream last night. I saw it like right as I was falling asleep. I don't know where he's been, what he's been
He
up to.
might
I
be
hope
on
he's
one of
good.
those weird schedules of his. I'll reach out to him. I'll
Yeah,
let you know.
yeah.
All right.
Tell him I said hey, and if I see him, I'll tell him
All
you
right.
said hey.
All right. Have
Take
a good
care.
one. Yep.
Everybody
Bye-bye.
else out there in TV land, I'm going to go do some people stuff. You guys have a great rest of your day. I'll be back tomorrow morning with something. Uh, tell you what else we did, says Quasi before we go. When Spelljammer came out, we left. We made Spelljammer helms that didn't require a ship. We could travel about the speed of light. It was so much fun. Uh, I'm going to say Jesus Christ, and uh, it's not a pantheon or it's a trinity. But I know you're not, that kind of guy, so not going to go into that. But I can show you all the uh, other pantheons have died because of that, for the most part. but we are talking a fantasy world where we're trying to, live out fantasies and what ifs and make believe and, challenge ourselves to see what we could accomplish within these rules uh, and see what we can get away with for the most part, both as players and DMs. I saw Bear the other day. Obviously, James is in Hyperborea. Nice. And with that, I will see you guys tomorrow. Have yourself a great afternoon. Love you guys. And as always, happy trails.